So you come home from a hard day's work from your other job, you get back to your side hustle reselling business, you have a bunch of things that's sold during the day, you come home, you eat, you say hi to your wife and kids or to your husband and kids, you take care of a few things, you get your packages together, you get them ready to ship, you print out the shipping labels, and by the time you're all done with this, it's already late at night and you have not replaced any one of the items that you sold. And maybe you're trying to get to a certain number of listings. Maybe you're trying to get to 200 listings or 300 listings, and you sold 10 things during the day or 5 things during the day. So now you're at 190 to 195. Let's say you're trying to get to 200. And then the next day comes by and you haven't listed anything new because you're just too tired by the end of the night, or you just plainly ran out of time. How do we fix that problem? This is a major problem that a lot of resellers have. It's one that I have had in the past as well. And especially when you are limited on time, you need to come up with a more efficient way to list replacements. And so that's what I want to talk to you about in this video. And it's not just for people who are part-time, it's also for people who are full-time resellers. So, if you're a full-time reseller, you've got a lot of other things going on during the day as well, besides packaging things up and listing things. You've got your regular life that you've got to tend to. You still have to take care of family duties. You still have to go out and do shopping. There's things related to your business you've got to take care of. You've got to go out sourcing. So let's say it's a weekend, a Saturday or a Sunday, and you're sourcing all day. And then by the time you get back, you run into the same type of situation that I just described with the part-time person. So we're going to talk about 2 ways to deal with this. And they're both variations of something that I call the fast replace strategy. Now, one of them is going to seem very obvious to you, and I've talked about this before. It's called scaling items, having scalable items. And a lot of you know what that means. And for those of you who don't, I'm going to just cover it briefly, but then I want to get into the meat of what I think is going to be the more valuable part of the video, is what to do if you don't have something that's literally scalable, and how to make something scalable out of something that's really non-scalable. Okay, so by a scalable product, we're talking about something that is identical to another product that you have. The ideal way to do this is to have multiples of the same items listed at once. So I'm going to show you some examples of things that I have right now in the Primetime Treasure eBay store. And some of you may remember these items from the past. I got these from an estate sale a long time ago. Originally it was this big stack like this, and I just found a few other ones and listed them tonight. These are these vintage Dynamo cups. Some of you may remember these from when you were younger, than being in your mom's laundry room or something like that. So I have them up for $9.99 a piece, and I decided to put these up in multiples. I figured maybe someone will buy more than one of these. Maybe they want them in multiple laundry rooms or for decorations, or maybe they want to gift some of them. So the good thing about that is someone could choose to buy 1, or they could choose to buy 2, or they could choose to buy 3, or they could choose to buy all 7. But let's just say they buy 1. Well, guess what? I really don't even have to put up another listing for it because I have 6 more that are sitting right there. So that's a great situation right there, just to have multiples that are ready to go. But sometimes you might not want to put multiples up. I've talked about this before as well, because you want to try to make it look like the market is more scarce for the item than it actually is. You don't want to take the chance that you're going to devalue the item. So maybe it's something that people wouldn't really buy multiples of. And this would be a good example. You remember this from the comic convention that I went to about a month ago. This is the one, it was called a Father and Son Sourcing Day. If you ever want to watch that video, my son and I went to a comic book convention, and we found this last issue of The Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. And we just started going through like a scavenger hunt, picking up multiples of them. We wound up getting around like 20 or so of the same issues. Well, I only list one of them at a time. We wound up getting them in bulk with a bunch of other comic books for what worked out to be 43 cents a piece. I've sold one of these for $32.50 so far, another one for $40, and another one for $35. So They sell very well. People have been very happy with them so far, but I only list one at a time. But the great thing is, since they're all in identical condition, you know, I've looked them all over thoroughly, I just have a base set of pictures, and then once it sells, I just then go into the listing, hit sell similar, and I've got the next one up. So I don't really have to do any additional work besides pressing that sell similar button. You know, another example of something I have in my store right now is I have one of these, which is the 9/11 Heroes comic book. It's a commemorative edition for the 9/11 event. They tried to raise money for it with the comic book that came out. A bunch of comic book artists came together to produce that. So I have, again, with that, one up at a time. And then as soon as that one sells, the same thing. I hit sell similar, and then the next one goes up. So that's how you scale items, and that's a reason to buy identical items in bulk when you're outsourcing, because it can make the replacement process a heck of a lot easier. You don't have to now go out, get new items, photograph them, that type of stuff. But now, to get to what I think is the meat and potatoes of this video, which is, well, you're going to say, I don't have multiples of items. I have a whole bunch of things that are different from one another. Okay, so here's what you do with this. And a lot of people probably wonder, when I go to all these different garage sales and estate sales and I buy these big hauls, how do I decide what to list? For example, I go out and I buy Funko Pop collections. I buy a big collection of comic books. I go out and buy a big collection of toys. Or recently, you remember from the Magic estate sale, when I went to the Magician's house, I bought all these different magician items. I went to the Star Wars haul and I got all those different Star Wars stuff, or all those trains that I went at the Picking Under Pressure video. I could go on and on and on with all these different collections, but what you notice with what I just mentioned is that all of those have some kind of general theme that you could put together. You could group them in. And so what I would suggest you do is you group your items together into themes, and you start thinking of listing them in themes as items sell, rather than, you know, maybe you don't want to list every single Funko Pop at once, or every single shirt that you have at once, or every single pair of pants that you have at once. We've talked about that before as a strategy too, in terms of listing things in groups, but that still doesn't get around the fact that when things sell, you need to be able to replace it fast. So what I would suggest doing is that when you have an item that sells, so let's say, for example, and it's something I have in my store right now, let's say this Sonic Funko Pop sells. And thanks, Johnny Funko, for your comment on this. That's why I listed it for you. But I've got this one up in my store right now. So if this Funko Pop sells, what I'm going to do is, before I even pack it up and ship it, I'm going to find another item within this same category, and I'm going to take photographs of it so it's ready to list. Now, ideally, I would like to actually list the replacement before I even pack this one and ship it out. So, for example, I might go and take photographs of this one. So that's my rapid replacement. Or if you want to get ahead of the game, because the idea is to continue to grow your inventory, take photographs of two of them. So you now have two that go up to replace the one, so now you're ahead of things. So now it can be that you're really pressed for time and you don't have time to do the listings before you print out the shipping label. So if that's the case, you know, depending on how much time you have and how many orders you have during the day, print out your shipping labels, but make sure, again, first that you took the photographs of the replacement items. And the reason for that is because after you have printed out all those labels, especially if it's later at night and you're tired, think about it. Are you really gonna wanna get up at that point at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, and start taking photographs and staging and doing all that stuff? Compare that to if you have all the photographs already prepared. Now all you have to do, you printed out your labels, you're all set. You don't even have to get up again. Everything is all ready. You sit right there, you have all your replacement photos taken, and then you just list all the replacement items. And maybe you can't get to list all of the replacement items that night, but guess what? As soon as you wake up the next morning, you have all the photographs already. Boom, boom, boom. You just knock them out and you put up your replacements, and maybe you're even ahead of the game compared to the prior day. And so I'm giving the example here of Funko Pops, but you could use this with any type of class of items that you have. So a lot of people watching this sell clothes. I sell clothes as well, and you could either decide to do your rapid replacement with the same type of clothing. So you could say, okay, if I sell a t-shirt, then I'm going to replace it really quickly with another t-shirt, or 2 t-shirts. Or you could just stay real general in the clothing area and say, no matter what type of clothing it is that I sell, I'm just going to go into my clothing death pile and I'm going to pick out another one and maybe another one. And it doesn't have to necessarily be a t-shirt. You could sell a t-shirt and then say, okay, I'm going to replace that with a hat, or I'm going to replace it with a pair of pants, or whatever the case may be, whatever you want to do. If I sell that was a good catch, by the way. So if I sold these 2 vintage wooden pineapple salt and pepper shakers that I have for sale right now in my eBay store, what I would do is then replace these with 2 other salt and pepper shakers, or 1 set of salt and pepper shakers. And actually, that's what I did with these tonight. That's why these are actually listed, because Tiffany from my Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center, she bought some Lego salt and pepper shakers from me tonight. So these, along with another set of salt and pepper shakers, wound up getting listed. Or if I sell one of my action figure toys, like this is one I have listed in my store right now, then I will either replace it with another one, or maybe 2, or you could even do more. Maybe you're going to replace it with 3. It's a way to get a leg up, but take those photographs in advance. Now, the reason why I like to replace with similarly themed items is because it tells me, look, someone's interested in that type of product right now. So, if someone is buying an action figure, then, maybe the action figure market just heated up that particular week and people are looking for more of them. So, make sure that I try to get more listed in response to that. Now, let's say that the day goes by and nobody buys any action figures at all. Does that mean you shouldn't list any additional ones? Absolutely not. In fact, today I sold to somebody 5 art prints of comic book characters because each day I just listed one and listed another one and listed another one. So that wound up being a $110 sale for 5 prints that I listed in successive days. So I'm not saying you need to just wait for one to sell before you list something else in a similar class. It's just a way to put some structure and some organization to things, especially if you have so many different types of items in your inventory, because in that situation, a lot of people can get overwhelmed and they don't really know where to start. So segmenting things off in this way could really, really help you out, and even, again, not only help you replace things quickly, but even feel like you're getting ahead of things, which is a great feeling to have. Another thing you could do, by the way, when you're listing, another approach when you're putting these replacements up and you have a lot of items that's sold, is you could do what I call a chunking approach. So once you wind up printing out the shipping labels for, let's say you have 12 items that's sold. So you print out the shipping labels for 3 items, and then you do your replacement of those 3 items. You do the replacement listings. Then you print out the shipping labels for another 3, and then you replace another 3. It all depends on how much time you have left, but it's a way to ensure that you're getting those replacement items up. Again, the main reason that I'm doing this video is for people who are struggling and they're falling short because they are selling things, but they just can't get the replacement items up fast enough. And so I hope that these strategies and these little tips and tricks that I shared with you today, that they're helpful for you. You could try them out, implement them, and let me know down below if it was something that was helpful for you. Now, of course, you can take, photographs of 20 to 50 to 100 items that you have in your inventory and have all those photographs all ready to go to do your replacements whenever you sell items. But a lot of people watching this are just not going to have that type of time to put aside to take that many photographs, especially if you don't have employees. or that sort of thing. So that's really who I put this video together for, is for the people who are really short on time and they're really struggling with trying to get those replacements up and to even make sure you're getting ahead so that you're growing in your business. So by just taking the photographs for the replacements in advance before you actually pack up the items and ship them out, that really can help you out. Even if you don't do those replacement listings until after the shipping label gets printed. Ideally, you could do it before, but even if you don't do it until afterwards, at least you have it ready. And just by changing the timing around to something you are already going to do anyway, could really help you get ahead of things in your business. So I hope that this video helped you, and if you decide to try out any of these strategies, come back in the comment section and let me know. Feel free to also put in the comment section any other strategies that you are using to do rapid replacements of inventory. A lot of people go into those comments. I appreciate all the interactivity on the channel. A lot of people go there to get other ideas and tips. So thanks so much for that. Make sure that you come back to this channel Wednesday night, the 15th. There's going to be a thrift battle. It's the Battle of the Beards. We were supposed to have this last week between Andrew Profit Monsters Friedman, who I did an interview with last week instead, and Troy Mountain Man Treasure Shockley. It's going to be an amazing battle. We've had a couple of these thrift battles before, and they've all been memorable. I'm sure this one will be as well. So we couldn't do it last week because there was a medical emergency, but we are all set, it looks like, to do the replacement show tonight, speaking of replacements. So if you watch this video down the road, just go into my playlist section and you'll see it. There's an area there for thrift battles, and you can go check that one out and some of the others. So if you like the video, make sure that you give it a big thumbs up, hit that like button, hit the bell icon up top also for notifications for when I go live. That could really be helpful so you don't miss any shows. But if you're in my Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center, we are multi-streaming into there as well. Make sure you come by to that group. If you're not a member, it's free. The link is down below in the description section. We are having a big seller supporting seller-thon type of event. It's a marathon event right now where people are making tons of sales. I mean, we had one member yesterday make almost 10 sales from this event. I made a bunch. A lot of people are making sales through there. So you got to just come by, check out and see the details of this new marathon selling event we're doing there. It's a lot of fun. And we do events like this throughout the month, and we do events every day actually where you could list at least one item in your inventory and get some exposure to your store, to your Poshmark closet, or wherever it is that you're selling things. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. That's very important to help this channel grow, and it helps me be able to come back and put up new content for you. And also be sure to follow me over at Instagram. I'm putting a lot of information on there in terms of items to be on the lookout for. I call them primetime tips to give you little insights and stuff like that. So that's at prime_time_treasure. I'll see you back at the next video, everyone. Take care.